Is that correct, attorney?
Yes, sir. But we also have economic zones that are established merong public-private partnership. Like yung LGU mismo, they will be the one applying with PEZA as the developer-operator of the economic zone. We have that already, sir.
Maybe you can give your official position muna on these
Yes,
two
sir.
measures, and then we can discuss more about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and to the honorable members of the committee, and to everyone, good afternoon. And in behalf of our Director General, Teresa Panga, who cannot make it today, PEZA wishes to say that we appreciate the invitation and to be given the opportunity to comment. As always, Your Honor, PEZA supports the intention and the objective of all this legislation to create an economic zone, because these are aligned with the mandate of PEZA in creating and establishing economic zone that will result in employment generation, export generation, and investment promotion. As our ASEC Carlo Adriano said, we also support all initiatives in the creation of economic zone through private sector, government legislation like this, and the public-private partnership collaboration. This sustained interest in economic zone development only shows the pivotal role economic zones play in in our national economy. But be that as it may, we recommend, or we hope our honorable proponents take a look at how PEZA does it under the PEZA framework, because the PEZA administrative process or PEZA framework under our charter in creating economic zone is still relevant. It's very effective, it's streamlined, and we say cost effective. It is very simple because it only takes few weeks for the approval with the board, and then endorsement to the OP, Office of the President, for the issuance of the presidential proclamation. As I said, the process is streamlined. All the proponent has to do is to submit the complete requirements with PEZA. The PEZA board meets twice a month. Once the board approves the application, we will now endorse this to the OP for 3 to 6 months issuance of the presidential proclamation. The process will now save the government with much needed funds, which could be used in other more critical projects of the government. And as we always say, the establishment or the application or the creation of an economic zone is just the easy part. The more difficult part is sustaining the viability of this economic zone. Attracting investors to come in, maintaining world-class facilities, which are the come-on for the investors, sir. Now, if, for example, that the door, it is...
You put that on record. I was about to ask you about that also. Number one is, what are the economic zones that are already in the area, like in the region? I know Poro Point is one, di ba?
No, sir. Poro Point is from a different IPA. That's for BCDA.
BCDA?
Ibang IPA po yan, sir.
Okay.
Apo.
So, yeah, maybe you can mention the ones in the region, in the province, and then after which, can you let me know the most recent presidential proclamations on the creation of ecozones?
Yung recent ano. Sir, in Ilocos Sur, it was just approved by the board yung proposed Nueva Segovia Economic Zone. That's a 184-hectare property. It's a tourism economic zone. The proponent here is the Roman Catholic Bishop of Nuestra Segovia. Another economic zone that was just approved by the board, also in Ilocos Sur, is the proposed Suyo Economic Zone. The SUYO, Your Honor, Suyo Economic Zone. It is a manufacturing economic zone. It consists of 188 hectares also, located at Mount Papao, Suyo, Ilocos Sur. And the proponent here is the municipality of Suyo, Ilocos Sur. So they are now, both companies, both proponents, they are now in the process of submitting the pre-proclamation documents. So once they have completed all these documents, we're going to endorse them to the Office of President for the issuance of presidential proclamation.
Yung ano ma'am, yung Nueva Segovia Tourism Ecozone is,
Yes, sir.
what is it, a resort? It's like a resort? What was the reason why they applied for it applied for it, tourism ecozone with PEZA? What is their master plan? Baka hindi alam ni Governor Chavit yan. At least makwento natin sa kanya. Maybe we can even send the proceedings, the video of these hearings to him so that he can see and watch.
Okay. Mr. Chair, when we approve the tourism economic zones, it is some sort of a complex facilities. Meron siyang mga hotels, may mga accommodations, and ano pa yung mga else?
So hindi pang manufacturing yan? Pang manufacturing ba yan?
Sir, iba po yung
Locators?
manufacturing. Pag tourism lang, tourism. Pag manufacturing is mostly for the factories. This one is, it is an integrated resort complex with an operation that is able to carry capacities of tourists and attract foreign investors such as high-end accommodation facilities, water sports and recreational facilities, theme parks, commercial centers and retail strips, wellness and medical facilities, retirement, international convention center, museum, monastery, and a 16-hectare Christ of the Desert monastery. Ito po yung mga if for example po na may gaming, halimbawa may casino, ay walang casino to, no? But there, wala po. Opo. Pag may mga, but the tourism facilities existing now, sir, pag may casino facilities sila, hindi sila covered ng approval ng PEZA. They will not be given incentives because that will be covered by PAGCOR. So always sinasabi namin yun sa mga approval ng tourism namin, we do not register casinos that will require PAGCOR approval and hindi po covered siya ng PEZA jurisdiction. Yes, sir.
How about ma'am yung sa Suyo Economic Zone?
The Suyo Economic Zone, auto manufacturing. Recently, Mr. Chair, for the information of the committee also, may mga na-approve lang nilabas ng OP, yung Presidential Proclamation in Cavite, in Las Piñas, also in Tarlac.
Privately owned or?
Yes, sir.
All
They are privately owned. Private sector initiative po ang mga ito, Mr. Chair.
So for the record, hindi nyo pinagbabawal ang pag-set up ng economic zone. Ang gusto nyo lang po ay minimum cost to government kasi kung gagawa po tayo ng batas ay may funding component yan tsaka pagtatayo ng authority,
Yes, sir.
which will cost of course considerable amount of funds from government.
That's true,
Pero
Mr.
kung
Chair.
private sector led or PPP, private and public sector led, okay po na idaan na lang sa PEZA.
Mas favorable, most recommended through PEZA. Yes,
Through
sir.
PEZA. Is that also an affirmative aside? Carlo?
Suyo.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So we recommend that the creation of ecozones should be consistent with existing laws. There are existing rules and regulations naman to be able to create ecozones. We do not need more legislation to create ecozones.
So the position of the DOF is no need of legislation.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
What would be the advantage if it was legislated as compared to presidential proclamation? I think the difference would be in a presidential proclamation, pwedeng bawiin yan through a presidential prerogative. Kasi it's a creation of the president. Unlike a legislation, unless it is repealed. That's the only advantage, I think, no, of a legislated ecozone.
Aside from that, Mr. Chair, as mentioned earlier, one of the requirements, if you follow the process of the PEZA law, is you need to show that the benefits outweigh the cost. So there's a cost-benefit analysis in the creation of ecozones, while in legislation, it's optional.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. So, ma'am, you wanted to add more?
Sir, you were asking about the Suyo Economic Zone. This is mainly a manufacturing economic zone, so that the entire 184 hectares, most of which are devoted to industrial area. Manufacturing lang po ito, sir.
May mga locators na sila dyan? Or wala pa?
Not yet, Your Honor, because they're still in the process of getting the presidential proclamation. Once the presidential proclamation is issued, they will now sign a registration agreement with PEZA, and that's the time that they're open for business. But most, sir, kaya sila nag-apply sa atin is because meron na silang investors na nakaabang. And they are wanting an area already. That's why we are pushing for all of these economic zones to sign already the agreement with us.
Paano yung infrastructure dyan sa loob ng EcoZone? Sagot na nila yun.
Yes, sir.
Hindi na gobyerno yun.
Yes, sir. When they submit the application, they will also submit the project, the timetables, how they will develop the area.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And what are the incentives? Remind us again, what are the incentives if it's a presidential decree in the creation of an eco-zone? For example, yung Suyo Economic Zone, anong ibibigay po nating insentibo? Just refresh our minds. What economic benefits will they be able to get?
Sir, for all investment promotion agencies, we already have one set of menu of incentives that's under the Create More. So pare-pareho na po kami. So for ecozone development, we consider them as exporters na rin, but they're entitled to income tax holiday. Ano income tax holiday ang binigay natin?
I'd like to recognize a distinguished colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla. Thank you very much, sir, for coming, joining us. Maraming salamat.
5%.
So, yun sana mabanggit nyo yung fiscal incentives, yan.
Thank you, sir. I think it is more for the DOF on the incentives because of the Create or Create More. Thank you, sir.
Hindi nyo na alam. Dapat alam nyo din.
Opo.
Kasi yung tao pupunta sa PEZA.
Yes, sir. It all yung
Pero
incentive.
you're deferring to the DOF as the mother agency.
But we must all know the condenser. Kasi yung incentive given depends on different tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. It all depends on the kind of the activity being registered and the location. So, for this economic zone, binigyan po namin siya ng 5-year income tax holiday.
5-year.
Opo.
Di ba ano yan? Under the law, pwede up to 7 or 8 years?
Yes, sir. As I said, sir, depende sa location and the nature of the project. So this one, 5 years po lang po binigay natin.
Okay. Well, so would you like to answer that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just to further clarify, so you can avail of incentive or apply for incentive even inside if you're inside the ecozone or outside the ecozone. So no matter where you are doing your business, you can actually apply for incentive. Now, under the Create More, very clear na yung disaggregation of work between FIRB and IPA. So if your capitalization is below 15 billion, you apply through the IPA. And under that, basically there are two classifications of registered business enterprise, the export-oriented and the domestic market enterprise. For the export-oriented, ito minimum 70% for export. For domestic market enterprise, mainly all of the products being sold is for domestic purchase or for domestic use. Now, for the IPA approved, 15 billion below, so again, it depends on the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and it will depend on the SIPP kung anong tier ka. So, the Strategic Investment Priority Plan. Now, for registered export enterprise, you can start with a minimum of 4 years income tax holiday, followed by 10 years of special corporate income tax or enhanced deduction regime. And because of Create More, you have an option to start with an SIT, special corporate income tax or enhanced deduction regime. So basically, it ranges from 14 to 17 years of income of fiscal incentives for export enterprise. Now, if you're a domestic market enterprise, basically mostly sold for domestic market, you can only avail of income tax holiday and enhanced deduction regime. You do not have an option of a special corporate income tax. Only for exporters lang yun, sir. And again, the number of year ranges from as low as 14 years to 17 years. Those are for the IPA approved. Now, for FIRB approved, meaning capitalization is above 15 billion, the incentive is longer. Because you have more capitalization, incentive is longer, and again, for export enterprise, you have a special corporate income tax holiday, special corporate income tax, or enhanced deduction regime, and your incentive period is as low as 24 years up to 27 years, so depending on the tier. So compared to the IPA approved, it's only 14 to 17. If FIRB, it's 24 to 27. Now, for domestic market enterprise, again, you can only avail of income tax holiday or enhanced deduction regime. Again, it's also 24 to 27 years if you are FIRB approved. Now, for the custom duties and VAT exemptions, typically provide VAT exemption if you're export market, if you're export enterprise. However, under Create More, there is provision there in Section 295D wherein all local sales, kahit anong incentive package mo or your location is an ecozone or outside an ecozone, your local sales will be subject to VAT. There's a proviso there in Create More. Now, so VAT most of the time it's only for export enterprise, and we have a new one which is high value domestic market enterprise. This high value domestic market enterprise are those with a minimum of 15 billion capitalization and import substituting, or minimum of $100 million export sales. So pwede ka magkaroon ng VAT exemption if you're high-value domestic market enterprises. Now, for custom duties, usually all RBEs can avail of custom duties.
Ask a question lang. So these are for locators in IPA areas. And that, what I was asking earlier is, yung sa presidential proclamation, would that be considered an IPA as well? No. I was asking for the incentives for example, yung Suyo Economic Zone. Simple question. What incentives will Suyo Economic Zone get if they apply with PESA and you grant them the presidential proclamation? Kasi we're trying to convince now that 19 applicants to go see you and just do it on their own through public-private partnerships or private endeavors. But what exactly is the economic zone incentives coming from the PESA through presidential proclamation? Kasi what you're saying is Clark, Subic, CESA, APECO, AFAB, di ba? So yung mga bago nag-a-apply.
Sir, they will be enjoying the same incentive under the Create or the Create More. Pareho lang, sir. And even, sir, the economic zones that will be proclaimed or that will be declared under legislation, in the proposed measures, sir, they will still state that the incentives will be in conformity with the Create or Create More. No difference, Your Honor.
Refresh our minds, because we passed the Create More a year ago. So what are for the benefit of those that are here today listening, including the proponents that are online, what incentives can they avail of?
Sir, yung na-discuss ko earlier, which
Pero, and that's why I asked you, is that for Clark, Subic, AFAB, or is that also PESA operated zones?
These are all activities that is identified in the SIPP. So if your activity, the strategic investment priority plan, so nandun po lahat ng listahan ng activities that can apply for incentives. So as long as you're there, you can apply to IPA if you're 15 billion below, or apply to FIRB if you're 15 billion above.
Diyan sa Antique, nakikinig sa atin si Senator Lauren Legarda, maganda yung municipal fishing industry nila doon. Let's say they have sardines there or mackerel or something, they want to put up a canning facility and for export, most possibly for export. So what will be for example, it's a 2 billion plant, 2 billion peso plant. What will the incentives be for that plant?
For this one, since it will be through the IPA, so again, if it's an export enterprise, 4 to 7 income tax holiday depending on the tier, and then followed by 14 another
It doesn't matter if it was a PESA approved or a presidential proclamation approved PESA zone, economic zone. They will be getting the same incentives all over because of our Create More.
Yes, so whether you're operating inside an ecozone or outside ecozone, basically anywhere in the Philippines, as long as your activity is part of the SIPP list, you can apply for incentive.
Yes, and I think I was one of those who pushed for that because of Dole Philippines. Because they're located in Bukidnon, they're located in General Santos, in South Cotabato, not inside locator eco zones. They're not locators inside eco zones. And so we opened that up for them to avail as well. So, okay, thank you. So that's very, very clear. Is Senator Legarda available now to give her opening statement? Hindi na lang daw. Hindi na lang daw. Okay. Baka na-convince nyo na.
Here. I'm actually here.
Hi, hello, Madam.
Yes.
Senate President, my Senate President Pro Temp, how are you?
No,
Madam Lauren.
actually, yeah, my apologies because as you know, I'm a positive person today.
You're
Yes.
always positive.
I'm
Positive in
totally
your
positive.
enthusiasm.
Yes, I actually have a very thick. I don't want to waste your time, but it's very interesting. I've been listening on and off from what you're saying, and I'll join you in session later. Can I just ask that my 6 pages be inserted into the record? But let me just state that
Yes, ma'am.
first, you know that we're 18 LGUs. We're a breathtaking province where the mountains meet the sea. You said it correctly, my dear chair, one of my favorite humans in this world, who
Thank you,
knows
ma'am.
economic affairs because in your province of Bukidnon, you've really spurred economic activity as well. But let me just state that the Tuna Highway from north to south, because we have 15 coastal areas and we have 3 mountain LGUs, so there's so much natural bounty. And I believe that there's great potential for investments, not just in agriculture, but even in the human capital. There's over 500,000 population, and we have a university, a state university and college in different areas of the province. So the growth rate could be much, much bigger. We saw a slowdown, of course, during the pandemic, and I believe that this can be stimulated with the appropriate investments. In the island of Panay, which you're very familiar with because you are from Negros, which is used to be part of Region 6 before the Negros Island region, we know that, of course, Iloilo, with its robust economic activity, and Aklan, because Boracay is there. But in between those two provinces is Antique. You may not all have been to that province yet, but there's great potential. So, this bill seeks to address the disparities by creating a dynamic and self-sustaining economic hub, incorporating sectors such as industry, commerce, financial services, tourism, and agriculture, among others. And this will drive future growth. So this is the reason for the Antique Special Economic Zone. And I know that it could attract both domestic and foreign investments. I will not take too much time, and may I request that my 6 pages be inserted into the committee's record. I notice Senator Robin Padilla is there as well. I thank you for your support. Now, since the proposal is for a special economic zone and a free port, but you know, in legislation, I understand everything is consultative, and I will follow the agencies of government, whether it's DTI, the DOF, and the PEZA. So whatever is suggested by the committee. Let's say I authored long ago with Senator Gordon the Bataan Economic Zone. It started with an economic zone, and the free port was another bill altogether. So if that could be the wish based on the assessment, and I would request the chair to perhaps have a TWG so that we can meet with both DTI, the BOI, and then we could have even DOLE for interventions in helping people and their competence as well, and of course the DOF with regard to the fiscal incentives. So I would be opening to listening to the agencies of government on how best to support this. Let me just state that ang mga puno, avocado, mangga, nahuhulog na lang na parang paraiso ang tamis at sarap ng prutas. So, fruit and food processing is important and needed. As I mentioned, the Tuna Highway from the north, from Libertad and Pandan, my hometown, up to mid-Antique and the south. There's so much fish, and I would hasten to say minsan nabubulok na lang, kulang ng blast, freezing, and perhaps canning, bottling, and all of this. At the same time, there's a young population of bright youths, pwede rin ang BPO. So ang dami talagang pwedeng gawin. Mula sa commerce hanggang sa agrikultura hanggang sa karagatan. Pero dapat sustainable lahat na hindi wawasakin ang magandang kalikasan. Pinagsalita mo ako, mahaba. Kaya hindi ako babasahin.
Of course.
That's a risk you take. That's a
We
risk.
are happy that you joined us today, Madam Senator. And I know this means a lot to you. I know you want to bring in more progress to your beautiful province, Antique. And it's just that during the discussions earlier, they were suggesting that maybe the scarce resources of government ang problema. They're saying that to put up an IPA, a new legislated ecozone, would cost about 12 billion to government.
That's the reason why I was reluctant. I fully understand because I recall in the previous administration there was a moratorium on the creation of more ecozones. That is why I'm glad the chair mentioned that. I think before pandemic, in the previous PEZA, there was an attempt to just maybe declare a building or even one floor as not an ecozone but a what do you call the area under PEZA? Just a declared PEZA site, not even an ecozone. At least that could be a compromise. So that's a reason why I said that a legislated standalone ecozone may be difficult considering the limited financial resources of government.
So, Madam Senator, they've already mentioned that they are not discouraging. As a matter of fact, they're encouraging private sector run or PPP. So the province of Antique, the provincial government, or the municipal governments of Antique can come up with a PPP with a private sector developer for an ecozone. As a matter of fact, as mentioned by Attorney Romero of the PEZA, in one province alone, for example, in the province of Governor Chavit Singson sa Ilocos Sur, because one of the applications today in the hearings is his ecozone. They have two called Nueva Segovia Tourism Ecozone and Suyo Economic Zone. Yung Nueva Segovia Tourism Ecozone is privately run, particularly by the Catholic Church, right? Catholic Church. The second one is the Suyo Economic Zone, which is a PPP with the town of Suyo. Ilocos Sur. So it could also be possible that another quicker route, and according to them, it's actually easier and faster because they tackle these requests twice a month. They have a board meeting twice a month, and it's easy to have them approved and endorsed to the office of the president for presidential proclamation.
I fully understand that, and that's the reason why I was reluctant. I was listening to you earlier, and I was reluctant to give my opening statement because this is the legislated standalone, just like the CESA or the APECO. And I know that there was a moratorium on this years ago, and I realized the limited financial resources of government, it could be a hurdle. However, there are many ways of skinning a cat, and as you said, the municipal or even provincial but private PPPs is an option, and I would be happy to explore other possibilities as other provinces have done. And thank you for giving me the time, even with my present positive condition.
Thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate all your inputs. And again, I know that Antique means a lot to you, close to you, very close to your heart. And that's why we heard this today. Because I didn't want to, of course, pass this 19th Congress without hearing your very important measure in my committee. But it's glad that we get all the inputs. I'm glad that we're getting all the inputs from all the agencies because this is also a guide for me because there's 19 other measures waiting for my approval, including one from Senator Padilla, which is the Camarines Norte Ecozone.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes, I see Senator Padilla there, and just like my province, there's so much potential for Cam Norte, and because it does not even have an airport, right? You have to fly to Naga to be able to go to Cam Norte in Daet, and it's very rich in natural resources, and it also is rich in agricultural produce.
And
Yes.
it's a beautiful, beautiful province. And yes, like you, I've been there as well. And they've got a beautiful coastline,
Yes.
wonderful possible tourism sites for surfing. Meron yatang schedule ng surfing doon. Ang
Yes.
ganda ng probinsya na yan. Yeah, not just Antique, not just Cam Norte, but so many other provinces have a potential. But again, I guess because we passed to create more, we are rationalizing everything. So according to Asek Carlo Adriano of the DOF and Attorney Romero of the PEZA, anyone now can avail of the incentives to create more. It's no longer just limited to Subic, Clark, APECO, CESA, AFAB. Now you can create it on. You can have your own creation in your own province by going through a presidential proclamation.
Okay. So what the chair is saying is that we don't have to go the long route anymore before Create More was enacted into law. Because of Create More, there is now an easier rather than a circuitous route to do the economic zone, and this is by utilizing the provisions of the Create More law. That's what the chair is saying, right? Okay.
That's absolutely correct,
We take
Madam.
note of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Lauren.
See you soon.
Thank you. See you later. Thank you, po. So yes, Attorney Jenny.
Just a comment, Mr. Chair. Even before the Create laws were passed, the PEZA process of establishing economic zone has always been there. In fact, sir, as regards the eco zone of Antique, we already have initial talks. The office of Congressman Levista already discussed with PEZA their possible creation of economic zone under PEZA. I don't know if I think they're just complying with the requirements which we have told them to comply.
So, yes, yeah, Congressman Legarda siguro. Yes,
Yes,
Ma'am Lauren.
I wanted to correct the name. The congressman of the Lone District of Antique is Congressman A. Legarda, my brother, and I was the Congresswoman 2019 to 2022. So the name mentioned by the good lady may not exist. I just wanted the name corrected on record. And even
Yes.
before my brother reached out to PEZA, when I was a congresswoman, we had initial talks, the time of Ching Plaza yet, the time of the late mayor of San Jose, Elmer Untaran. There were talks